Hi, good morning.
Well, good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us. To start the question as we examine the current Commissioner of Police, earlier with Christopher's, her performance for this 100 days. I mean, it's beyond 100 now. She's given herself a rating of excellent. In fact, when questioned about it, she even asked journalists, uh, precisely, you were able to keep track of 100 days? I've been working really hard. And she's given herself that particular judgment. How should the public accept this? I mean, is it fair for the public to make an assessment at this point, or has precedence been set by Earl Hayward Christopher and the public is judging her own judgment?
Well, what usually happens, the Commissioner of Police is judged in two different groupings. First, by the Police Service Commission, where they will have comprehensive evaluations of that individual throughout the year. There will be about 95 different aspects, and they'll have from poor going into average, good, very good, excellent. And then you're also going to be measured by the public. So those are the two groupings that will measure the performance of a Commissioner of Police. You do not measure yourself. I recall in my first year as Commissioner of Police, I got about 87 out of the 95 ratings by the Police Service Commission as excellent. Public trust and confidence in the police would move from 14 to 55%. There was about a 76% national support. But I still, in myself, said that I am not satisfied. And that is what you would expect from someone who wants to serve. If you're serving the public, to blow your trumpet and to say that I am doing an excellent job. And what is her what it is that she used to say that? I mean, unfortunately, the two main things that we will recall Christopher in her first 100 days is to say that she needs to pray to reduce crime. Then we have all sort of different, and now trying to give yourself an excellent rating. I think it is unfortunate. It seemed that she was virtually ambushed by the media, and that is where you have to be very careful. When it says you have to do impromptu speaking, you have to be very careful because these things can come back and haunt you. Earl Christopher needs to be very cautious of what she says and spend more time in trying to do what is required, which is to reduce crime, but also to instill public confidence and trust, not just in her, but the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. The 100 days, I mean, these things will be very difficult. It is difficult to transform turn around what she received from McDonald Jacob. It was the highest crime rate, the highest spike in crime in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. That is what she inherited. I said that what she promised will be impossible. It will take a while. It took me a while because for 4 years before I became commissioner, there was a gradual rise in crime. So I couldn't have done that overnight. It took me about 16 months before you started seeing the massive decline in crime. So she needs to have proper systems and not just to come up with crime plans and just give it to the Minister of National Security, which is really start computerized statistics, but coming up with proper systems to measure performance of those under her command and have deliverables and have operational policies to ensure that they can be implemented to reduce crime.
Well, given what you've suggested, especially with the runaway crime rate inherited by her from former Commissioner of Police McDonald Jacob, as well as the fact that it's very difficult to get things done overnight. 100 days is not a lot of time. Is it now unfair for the public to lay judgment?
Oh, no, I agree, but what you say and do in that 100 days, it is good. They'll remember you. On day one, I said from day one, I do not want a honeymoon period, and that was confirmed. That's what she needs to do. So this thing about asking for a honeymoon period, you're not the measurement of you as a commissioner of police should not be based on you transforming and reducing crime overnight, especially if it is what you inherited before. I inherited a system where under Stephen Williams, crime was gradually increasing, and he was blaming society, the community, the politicians. He was praying as well, and that's why the public did not condemn me because the crime rate was high in my first year. But what it is, they were looking and understanding that I was putting on different policies, doing things from the National Operations Center, the Commissioner's Command Center, the Operational Command Center, GPS tracking on vehicles, gender-based violence unit, online reporting, app reporting, emergency response patrol, special operation response team. Almost every 2 or 3 days, you'd have been seeing a policy, you'd have been seeing something happening. And that was from day one. 100 days have passed and there's nothing that she has done or achieved or said to say that there's going to be something different. So it's not so much of the results you need to see to try to measure her, but what it is that she is doing. You can't just be in automatic mode and expect there to be a change. So if people see that there are things that you are doing and you're trying to be proactive, you're trying to think out of the box, then the public is going to appreciate that, okay, we're not going to see crime going down overnight, but at least there are things are happening. In the first 100 days, nothing has happened. There's been no change, nothing different to what McDonald Jacob was doing. No new units, no new policies, no new systems, nothing. So if nothing is happening, you're not going to see it. It's going to be very difficult for the public to believe that there's going to be a change, whether it's 100 days or 100 months.
Do you believe that her suggesting that by June she'd like to reduce murders here in Trinidad and Tobago, which is about 2 weeks away actually, depending on what part of June you want to lay judgment upon, do you think that in itself has created the situation where public judgment is going to be far greater and public trust and confidence is actually going to be lower? Because even after saying that, the murders compared to last year is higher.
Yeah, and again, she's trying to say things, and people actually try to buy into it. They say, yep, good, well done. But why June? Why not March? Why not October? Why not next year? You can't just come up with a month, and because people are going to hold you to it. And when that time arrives, they're going to point fingers at you. I was very, very cautious when you speak. You have to be very careful. I never gave myself a timeline because, as I said, it took me 16 to 18 months for there to be a turnaround. Because what I inherited from Stephen Williams was a disaster. What she inherited from McDonald Jacobs is the same thing. So to just automatically say that you're going to turn it around within a few months. Now, granted, it should be easier for her because I inherited 4 years of a gradual increase. McDonald Jacobs inherited the highest reduction in crime in 17 years in Trinidad and Tobago. The lowest number of murders and violent crime, no kidnapping, no home invasions. The public trust and confidence in the police was the highest. And somehow he managed to take that and transform that into the highest spike in crime and now the lowest public trust and confidence. So she now needs to, as I said, she now needs what she inherited from McDonald Jacobs, she needs to turn it around. But to just jump and say June, she never gave any justification to give any system for people to believe, well, we understand why you say June. What it is that she knew that is going to cause criminals to peg back. What is the deterrent? What is the high visibility? What is the rapid response? What is the product of opportunity that is going to be diminished to ensure that criminals will no longer commit crime? She has done nothing. She has said nothing. She has implemented nothing. She has established nothing. So you're not going to see the difference. I said it from day one. I said, not so fast, sir. It's not going to happen. It is impossible, especially if you are not making any changes. You're doing the same thing that Jacob was doing. And if that happens, then you're going to get the same results. Unfortunately, my quick point on this is we have something called criminologists in this country. And our media loves to contact criminologists. It's the only media in the world, out of about 230 countries, we contact criminologists to speak about law enforcement. Criminologists know nothing about law enforcement. Their job is to understand the cause of crime. But we contact them every single time as it pertains to measure the performance of the commissioner. What are your crime plans? What is your view pertaining to abolishing jury in courts? And unfortunately, they give their views based on perception, old talk, and personal view. And some of them said, yes, we believe that she's going to do it. And those things would affect the public because they believe and buy into the fact of these criminologists who speak just on the top of their head with no data, no research, no interviews, no empirical testing. And these things, unfortunately, can affect the public because they're expecting something in June that is just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Now, with respect to the Commissioner of Police's crime plan, her 2-year crime plan, which includes the dismantling of gangs, as well as trying to clean up the streets of illegal guns and ammunition. I mean, have you seen anything thus far, at least since this plan was stated, in your eyes, because there's a lot that may be happening behind closed doors and we're not entirely aware of it, but have you seen anything thus far which suggests that the 2-year crime plan is actually being implemented and we are seeing better, more efficient and effective policing?
No, unfortunately, it's just the opposite. Because what happened under McDonald Jacobs, he politicized the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. There were 22 persons of substance who were instrumental in the highest reduction in violent crime in 17 years in this country. And he fired every single person, the 20-odd persons. He dismantled all of the things that I mentioned. And because of that, the criminal saw the product of opportunity. So what she has stated, there's nothing that she has said that this is what is going to cause the turnaround. So as I said, when I said there's going to be a turnaround very soon because the criminals are going to be pegged back. We're going to take the fight to the criminals. We're going to make life difficult for them. And so when a criminal will jump over a wall in someone's house, you have a 999 system that was effective. You will then have an operational command center where you will see the house. You will then have a police vehicle in closest proximity to that house because we are GPS tracking. We measure their performance, look at their area of responsibility, have that vehicle turned up. So within 2 to 3 minutes, criminals will know that if I jump over a house, if I commit a crime, the police would be there. We also have predictive policing, anticipating the crime before it took place, social media monitoring. So all of these things would have been critical. She has not implemented or established anything. The plug has still been pulled out of all of these different policies, programs, units. Because of that, that is where the criminals realize I could go by a nightclub in residence in St. James, shoot 2 people, and walk away, which is opposite the commissioner's residence, and no vehicle will turn up. This is what has happened. And unfortunately, the reason this has happened is because McDonald Jacob, based on pettiness, not understanding technology and modern day 21st century policing, pulled the plug on all of the 100+ policies, units, systems we put in place. And the criminals thought, hey, it's back to the old days. She needs to now not politicize national security, not politicize crime. And so far, she's not doing it. Because if you look at her first major statement in this country, it's about legal firearms. So after getting her 1-year extension, it seems that she is now the puppet of the politicians. Her political employers have given her an extension. And the only thing that you could discuss is about and make a misleading, false, mischievous comment to say that there were 100 crimes committed by legal firearms. So let me clarify that quickly. We have 20,000 serious crimes a year. So that in that 10-year span, we're talking about 200,000 crimes. Out of the 200,000 crimes, she decided to pinpoint 100 crimes by legal firearms. Most of those 100 crimes she spoke about would have been by law enforcement officials and security officers in security companies who lost their firearms, had negligent discharges, and so forth. So you package 100 to give the impression of, wow, we really have a problem with legal firearms. In my 3 years, not one was lost, stolen, used for a crime, and half of those were given to law enforcement officials. 100% of all of the murders committed by firearms under her watch have been by illegal firearms. Yet she had the audacity to put her focus and emphasis on legal firearms because this was the political ploy by the government in their desperate bid to see if they can try to discredit my character, and it just backfired because it were all lies. That is why the court decided to tell a prime minister, hey, pull up. You were irrational in your actions with that audit report, and it's not to go to Parliament because Parliament is the one place you can lie and not be sued. So she has used the same audit report by 3 individuals, 3 civilians who were so clueless not even to speak to me. So you make up all of these fancy numbers and you use that now instead of putting the focus and emphasis where it should be, which is what I was doing, dealing with illegal firearms. And if she does not do that and she tries to pull the political line, then we are going to see again continued increase in crime.
Well, I've actually gotten used to it and try my best not to take on statistics. So if I have to, I always take them with a pinch of salt. But is it that you're suggesting that the failures of Earl Edward Christopher is because of McDonald Jacob? Is he the reason behind everything that's going wrong right now, knowing that he's no longer in office? In fact, she's there for quite some time. And by extension, that Earl Edward Christopher is no different to McDonald Jacob. She's just basically, in the most respectful way, a copy and paste form.
Well, let me explain. When I got into the Trans-American Police Service, it required massive transformation. It was the old school type of policing. Put lots of officers in stations. They just sit down, wait for something to happen. And this is no fault of the police officers. It took me a while, a year, to transform the police officers to understand about that pride, to change, to do customer service training, for them to appreciate technology, understanding why it is we are measuring your performance, making you accountable, GPS tracking your vehicles to see how fast you will respond to a crime scene, making sure you stay in your area of responsibility, making sure that we work closely with the PCA, having systems for you to have easy access to the public through 482 Gary, online reporting, app reporting, that 999 system that when you dial 999, within seconds someone will answer your call. Those things worked, and the police officers started appreciating it and realized, wait, now the public is starting to like us. Young children wanted to be police officers. The police service became the most liked, trusted, and respected of all arms in the public service. That took a while, but and again, it had to do with leadership, trying to transform the mindset of police officers, and they did it, and they appreciated it. McDonald Jacob and Earl Christopher, unfortunately, nothing against them, but they're old school. Their job is to wear the gabardine, stay behind a desk, and come up with nothing new, nothing dynamic, nothing out of the box. So they do let's look at test cricket. They are Chandler Pauls of commissioners of police. They stay in their crease, they will bat all day, and at the end of the day, no runs on the board, but they'll come back out to bat the following day because they have done nothing wrong. You have to be dynamic, you have to take risks, you've got to be adventurous. And they are not, and that is what Earl Christopher unfortunately is the McDonald Jacob, the Stephen Williams type of policing. But you can't blame Earl Christopher. She did not put herself there. I have tried to Tobago, rather than us condemning Earl Christopher. Earl Christopher placed 22nd in 2018 when they had the applications for Commissioner of Police by qualified experts. They had a UK expert who was instrumental in selecting 17 commissioners around the world. When they measured her performance in mock media conference, interviews, essays, and so forth, she placed 22nd. She got 52% to my 82. In 2021, she got 74% to my 94. Politics played its part. The Prime Minister, who handpicks a president, she then decided to handpick 5 individuals in a new police service commission because the previous one resigned in disgust because of a Prime Minister's interference in the meritless fiasco. And then when that happened now, you see this president selected, here what, a financial accountant and a speaking consultant to evaluate who could be the best commissioner. So a lady who placed 22nd, this police service commission placed her first. So Earl Christopher was really imposed on us by an incompetent police service commission because we are now hiring civilians with no training in law enforcement to pick who they want, and it could be very well political. So we need to support Earl Christopher, not condemn her, because this is the best she can do. This is the best you're going to get. You're not going to get much better. And unfortunately, it was because the Police Service Commission, by and large, they should resign because of their failure and their incompetence in how they handled the last merit list. So Earl Christopher, again, is the old school. All I can say is I hope that she can replug, reboot, the same way I did with Keith Rowley. I offered to help her. I do not need anybody to know. I could guide her, explain to her what could be done to peg back the criminals. Excuse me. She has not yet responded in the same way as McDonald Jacob. If she decides to do the Keith Rowley thing and say, well, you're not one of us, it's my time now, the country's going to pay the price.
I think you're being a bit unfair to Chandler Paul with that comparison. But, you know, I see that it still bothers you that you're not in the position of Commissioner of Police anymore, and you've made your arguments exactly why. But at what point is it time for Guy Griffith to let go of the fact that he's no longer there and actually focus more on the National Transformation Alliance, a political organization and party as which he's formed?
Well, it is all part of it. Remember, it's all part of serving. It's all part of governance. The concept of governance and leading is to serve persons, and that is what I am doing. When last would you hear a politician say to us, I am willing to help you, the government, and you are in the position, and if I help you, it may benefit you and cause you to stay in government. That is the type of leadership you're seeing, and that's what the NTA stands for. Not about playing politics, not about seeing how we can find time to discredit those who hold office, but be willing to help them. So when it is national security, education, health, economy, we have the people, the programs, the political will to assist. And we do not want the government to fail. I do not want Keith Rowley, Earl Christopher, or anybody to fail if they hold office, because it is their responsibility to serve the country properly. So it's not a matter of letting go. If it was letting go means that you just give up, you don't care. Because the thing about it is I don't need a job, I don't need a work, I don't need an appointment. My position as Commissioner of Police, I had my tour of duty, and it still speaks for itself. My achievement, my national support, it is there. It is based on my sacrifice, dedication to duty, my patriotism. So I'm not doing it for me. I am doing it to help the country. So it's not a matter of letting go. The day I let go is when it is I feel, well, I really don't care what happens to the country and I can move on in life and enjoy myself. What I am doing now is continuing to sacrifice, and if it is I let go, it means that I'm going to operate like the other politicians who said, I hope this government fails, I hope Earl Christopher fails to make me look better. That is not how I've been trained. My training is to ensure that the country must be served properly, because the country cannot wait until we are in government in 2025 or beyond or earlier to make sure that there's a proper police service commission, not the incompetent one we have now that decided to impose us with Earl Christopher, or to have a government with the most incompetent Minister of National Security in the history of this country. And because of that, in the meantime, until then, the country will be drowning in blood. So that is why the country has never seen politicians stating, Prime Minister, you are failing. We look at the track record of what we have achieved. We are willing to help you to make your life easier. And you as a Prime Minister stating, in a nutshell, my ego, my arrogance, my hatred, my political bias has priority over doing what is better for the country. And if the country drowns in blood because of it, so be it. My hatred and bitterness for you because you are not one of us is more important. And that is sad. That is indicative of the character and the personality of the individual. So if the day I let go is the day that I have lost that right to be able to say that I am prepared to serve my country and serve you, and I'm asking you all to give me that opportunity.
Well, a final question to getting back to earlier with Christopher. You've worked with her professionally. In your eyes, in your opinion, what have you seen, or what do you deem to be her strengths? And are you now seeing such strengths on full display? What are early Airwood Christopher's strengths?
She has spent 30 years behind her desk. She's an excellent administrative person, just like McDonald Jacob, just like Stephen Williams. Asking them to come out and understand the concept of strategies, policies, tactics, law enforcement. That is primary crime prevention, high visibility and rapid response, deterrence, pegging back criminals, putting systems of proper intelligence gathering, use of technology that is so available that all of these things were shut down. Kidnappers did not understand how in God's name are we in a house holding a victim and special operation response team will break down into the door, arrest us. That never happened in Trinidad and Tobago before. When we had the kidnappings, the job of the police was to pay the ransom money and hope that the victim will return. We were cracked the ground that even North America started understanding, wait a minute, you all actually have dashboard cameras on police vehicles with real-time video footage being fed back to an operational command center. NYPD didn't have that. So, I mean, with those things that have taken place, it was Earl Christopher, they don't understand that type of new modern day policing. So she's good administratively. That is her job. Now is not a time for an administrative commissioner of police. McDonald Jacob, Stephen Williams, Earl Christopher, they love the garbaging, they love being behind the desk, they love paperwork. Now is the time we need someone who has the ability to think out of the box, be tactical, be strategic, involved in policy making. And if we don't have that, we are going to go right back to how it was pre-2018. And that is what the country is seeing right now. But again, as I said, this is no fault of Earl Christopher. This is because of an incompetent police service commission that was politically handpicked by a president who was politically selected by a prime minister.
Well, Mr. Griffith, thank you very much for joining me this morning on AM Prime. Glad to get your opinion and from your perspective, what's taking place here in TNT, especially from the Police Commissioner's Office. But at this point in time, we'll have to conclude, and thank you very much for your time, and keep well.
My pleasure. Take care.
Take care.